Pork and poultry products from the National Abattoir are expected to be in local supermarkets by Christmas. 2 days away from elections, and Dominica remains steadfast in support of its candidate for the Commonwealth Secretary General. And the NTRC bridging the gap between children with special needs and modern technology. I am Lurian Graham Carter with the Channel 5 News. Details after this. First up, the Minister for Agriculture has revealed that pork and poultry from the National Abattoir will be sold at supermarkets at competitive prices by Christmas. A 3-week testing period underway at the Abattoir facility will be commissioned soon. On Wednesday, the media, along with the Ministry of Agriculture officials and representatives from the Venezuelan embassy, were given a tour of the facility.
Over the next few days, 4,000 birds and 250 pigs will be slaughtered and will go through a process, an incremental process, until the entire facility is tested to the maximum. I am happy that a number of supermarkets have decided to purchase some of the product, some of the pig and chicken that will be coming through the testing phases.
The minister was pleased that livestock farmers can now expand their production. Funds will be made available for them at the Aid Bank for lending. Drago maintains that the success of the abattoir depends on Dominicans buying local pork and poultry.
We are presenting you with a wholesome local product, our very own chicken and pork product. For their sake, for Dominica's sake, for the sake of the success of the abattoir, let us buy local.
The minister says it will be costly to operate the abattoir.
The operation of the abattoir will be a costly venture. We're talking about electricity, the employment of staffing, salaries and wages for staff. We're talking about the cost of production of animals. We know the cost of feed, and which we have no control over. We know the cost of really producing. So therefore, we are saying to our Dominican community, if our farmers are going to succeed, and if the abattoir is going to succeed, we must support the abattoir.
The $10 million Venezuelan-funded abattoir is set to open in January of 2016. It's 2 days away from the Commonwealth Secretary General elections, and Dominica has made it clear that it will not withdraw its candidate. Iduna John Baptist has more.
Baroness Patricia Scotland has her eyes set on the post of Commonwealth Secretary General, and Prime Minister Skerrit is not withdrawing his nomination of her. Lady Scotland's campaign for Secretary General was publicized last May when Mr. Skerrit presented her as the platinum candidate at a reception in her honor at London. While Trinidad has withdrawn its candidate to support its CARICOM counterpart, Antigua Sir Ronald Sanders, neither Dominica nor Antigua has fulfilled a request by OACS heads to offer one candidate from the region for the race. Mr. Skerrit has insisted that the former UK Attorney General is the best and most qualified candidate. In fact, the Prime Minister on his official Facebook page said last Thursday, following the OACS meeting, that Dominica fully supports its candidate. So who is this woman who is seeking to earn added respect from the Dominican community and the rest of the world if she amasses the most votes from Commonwealth leaders on November 27 in Malta? St. Joseph is the home village of Scotland, who moved to the UK at 2 years with her family. The Queen's Counsel has served in the Tony Blair administration, holding posts such as Attorney General, Minister of State and Parliamentary Secretary.
I became the only woman in over 700 years ever to be appointed Her Majesty's Attorney General. Everyone told me that I couldn't make it at the bar because of not having the right background, not having the right sex, not having the right religion. I mean, I was all wrong. So I was never going to succeed. I think one of the most important things is not to accept things as they are, if they could be better, And if you want to make a radical difference, you have to identify where change needs to happen.
Her Commonwealth vision, according to her campaign website, is to see the Commonwealth deliver cost-effective and measurable positive impact on the lives of the people of the Commonwealth. She says her greatest passion has always been to make people's everyday lives better. She comes across as a campaigner for real change. Among the issues she's also passionate about is the fight against domestic violence, and she's advised governments on how to build effective and fair judicial systems.
1 in 3 women in our world suffer from domestic violence. In our country, it's 1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 men. It affects about 750,000 children a year. And so I was told, you can't change that. And I believed we could make a radical difference, and we could change that if we joined together. We reduced domestic violence by 64%, and we saved 7.1 billion a year economic cost. And we did that by working together. I've always found that the real radical thing to do is to say, I am walking, even if I walk on my own, but will you walk with me? If we could get peace in the home, I think we'd have peace in the world.
Scotland has been Dominica's international coordinator for the post-tropical storm Erika relief effort. If she wins the Commonwealth Secretary General post, she could be the first woman and the first of Caribbean descent to hold the post. Idona Jean-Baptiste, Channel 5 News.
Increased awareness for a policy pushing for equality between genders is on the cards for the Bureau of Gender Affairs.
According to the acting director of the Bureau of Gender Affairs, noticeable progress has been made on the issue of gender equality in Dominica. However, more work can be done. Under the helm of Rosie Brown as director of the Bureau of Gender Affairs, a lot of groundwork was put in place to advance the policy. Now, a new woman leading the government department has that top on her agenda.
We see over the years that we've made significant improvements. Just a case in point, in terms of the women who went up in politics in the 2014 politics, which I believe was six women in total. I mean, 6 is a small number, but when you look at it relatively to what happened in the past, I mean, that was a significant improvement. And even as of now, we have a few more female ministers than before. So even at that level, at the policymaker level, you see that there's been some improvement in terms of achieving the whole objective of gender equality and equity.
Efforts are ongoing to make the public more aware and familiar with the contents of this gender equality policy.
So we want to ensure that the public out there, they are aware that there's an existing gender policy. There's a gender policy from 2006. But in 2014, it was submitted to cabinet. Although it's pending approval, it's in draft form. It's completed, sorry, but it's pending approval. We want the public to know that there's actually a gender policy that will guide your programming.
There are programs in the works which will bring greater awareness to the public on various aspects of the policy.
We have a multidimensional poverty project which is funded by UNDP. We've not started. We're still in the planning stages, I would say. We encountered some hiccups because it's a regional program, and Dominica is a participating country out of the 5. So we've started the planning for that project, and hopefully by January everything should be rolling. It targets a number of communities like Woodford Hill, Forsasia Fab, Bells, Penville, some of the economically disadvantaged communities, so to speak.
Labor and employment, health and well-being are among the other themes to be covered by the policy.
Meanwhile, a stronger, more transparent relationship between the police and the public is being described as key in reducing crime in the country.
This was the focus when the United Nations Development Programme, the OECS office, and the government hosted a national citizen security dialogue on Wednesday. It was held under the theme Sustainable Human Development and the Citizen Security Agenda, defining priority actions in Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. Minister for National Security told that forum that improved communication between the public and the police can play a pivotal role in curbing the current level of crime in society.
That degree of suspicion that exists between the police and the public has to be something of the past. If at all, the police is to be efficient and effective in solving and, first of all, preventing crime. The expectation of the Dominican public is for a police force that displays strong work ethics, teamwork, and a burning desire to achieve expected results. The public, is also expected to develop that level of trust and confidence in our police. The police, on the other hand, expect the public to provide mutual respect, consultation on matters in the community, share information rather than keeping secrets.
The minister emphasized the need for a stronger police presence within the community.
You serve and protect by wearing your uniform and patrolling the street. You serve and protect by responding to reports and complaints promptly. And you serve and protect by investigating reports with the highest degree of commitment and diligence. Because the most fundamental function of any government is the safety and protection of its people.
In more major news, the ICT sector has made a significant investment in the education of children with special needs.
This was made possible through the donation of technological equipment by the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, NTRC. The Alpha Center, which creates an enabling environment for mentally challenged individuals, was the recipient to this donation on Wednesday. The donation consisted of tablets, laptops, headsets, and special software.
The Alpha Center cannot be forgotten in our quest to transform the quality of education that all children receive. This endeavor seeks change. Change in the way we teach as special education teachers, change in the way in which our high-performing special needs students have not been given a chance to enter into the general classrooms. These changes, if embraced correctly, will bring about a complete turnaround in our society and the way that they view special education. The visionary leadership by the NTRC in facilitating the commencement of such a change should open the door for other institutions, including the education sector, to do likewise.
The equipment is being seen as a way to get the Alpha Center on board with the ICT movement in Dominica.
The government of Dominica, through the innovative thinking and vision of the Honorable Prime Minister, saw the need to use ICTs to not only enhance the learning and potential of all citizens, including those among us with any form of disability, but to ensure that technology is used to enhance and foster human and economic growth.
You are watching Channel 5 News. Coming up, students at the Ebenezer Seventh-day Adventist Primary School get involved in Orange Day activities. Welcome back. A German cruise ship is expected to make 10 calls to Dominica for the cruise season, increasing the opportunity to generate more economic activity here. One of the reasons for this is because passengers on board that ship are eager to explore. The MV Ada Diva made its inaugural call to Dominica on Tuesday. The cruise ship is built similar to the Ada Bella and Luna and has a passenger capacity of over 2,000 with an over 600-member crew.
We want to make sure that all your passengers, when they come from the shore and their various excursions, that they come back and that they in fact rate Dominica at the highest possible that they can, because we depend on those ratings to be able to help us to move the process forward.
Captain of the MV Ada Diva revealed that the majority of passengers left the ship as soon as it made port.
Aida Cruises is tailored for the German-speaking market, so we are a little bit of a special brand. We don't have mixed nations on board. We have 99.5% German-speaking passengers. That means they're made up of mostly Germans and, of course, Austrians and Swiss. And as you know, these folks, they like to make sightseeing. They like to see the destinations, they like to go out. This is why one of our most important onboard revenue branches is actually shore excursion.
The captain referred to the local water as liquid sunshine.
I told them Dominica is one of the islands with the largest open-air wellness shower system in the world. So just make sure that if some of the passengers happen to address you, that we are on the same page, right?
The MV Diva will make a call to Dominica every 2 weeks. A total of 174 cruise calls are projected for the 2015-2016 cruise season. And Dominica joins the rest of the world in observing Orange Day on Wednesday.
The Bureau of Gender Affairs also used this day, the day to unite to end violence against women, to launch the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence campaign. A ceremony was held at the Ebenezer SDA Primary School, which was attended by a recent victim of gender-based violence who died following injuries sustained during a domestic dispute. Officials from the Bureau called on children and adults to speak out against gender-based violence.
Sadly, young girls and even young boys are entrusted to people who are supposed to care and love them. They are required to treat them with the utmost kindness and respect, and not to be induced or forced into sexual acts that are detrimental to them, and against their will, of course. What is even more hurtful is that sometimes the parents are aware. They refuse to report to the necessary authorities, or they accept hush money in exchange of the exploitation of our young girls.
Adults and the children were encouraged to engage in activities to bring more awareness to the fight to end violence against women and girls.
You can tell others about Orange Day to raise awareness about Orange Day itself and about the forms of violence that children and women are subjected to. Engage children in discussions about violence against girls, about gender equality and gender equity, so that they have a voice in the fight to put an end to violence which affects them. You can also find out more about the programs of the Bureau and other partners who are involved in responding and preventing violence against women and girls.
The theme for Orange Day this year is From Peace in the Home to Peace in the World, Make Education Safe for All. Children of the Ebenezer SDA Primary School released orange balloons as a sign of their stance against gender-based violence. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
A team of Venezuelans who visited the island to oversee ongoing construction of Petrol Casas met with Prime Minister Skerrit last week.
The Prime Minister received the Venezuelans at his office last Friday. Foreign Affairs Minister Francine Baron, Economic Development Minister Dr. Colin McIntyre, and Attorney General Levi Peter were also at that meeting. Following their discussions, the Venezuelan team also visited the construction site at Granby. Some of the structures are already up. The Venezuelan government has promised 300 Petrol Casas for people displaced by Storm Erika. Material for the first 50 houses arrived here in October, and construction began later that month. Those will go to Dubic residents. All 137 residents had to be relocated following Storm Erika. The Petrol Casa, or oil house as it's called in English, is a type of Venezuelan family house mass-produced since 2007. They are funded by Venezuela's oil industry. 3 factories in Venezuela produce the material used in constructing the houses. Despite concerns that the PVC profiles used for the houses have cancer-causing agents, in August 2009, the German Technical Inspection Association certified that it was free of carcinogenic substances. Coordinator of Government Resettlement Program, Lucien Blackmore, said earlier that it would take 3 months to complete construction of the first 50 houses. Material for another 250 Petrol Casas are waiting to be shipped from Venezuela. Idona John-Baptist, Channel 5 News.
The University of the West Indies Open Campus Dominica will be recognizing the 10th anniversary of one of its lecture series on Thursday.
The Dame Mary Eugenia Charles Memorial Lecture Series will be celebrated with the lecture titled Unleashing the Spirit of Overcoming. The lecture will be delivered by Dr. Wendy Grenard, a political science lecturer.
Dr. Grenard will argue that for a long time, the Caribbean's narrative has been one of slavery and subjugation and resistance and so on. But now it is time to talk about our long history of overcoming in the Caribbean region. She will talk about the fact that there are still several issues of overcoming to go. We have to talk about reparations. We also have to talk about regionalism. She will talk about the fact that many of our indigenous people are still seeking their rights in society, and she'll talk especially about the Kalinagos of Dominica. But she will make special mention of the fact that in the Caribbean, we have always had this collective spirit to overcome adversity.
This UWI lecture series is the longest running among the UWI Open Campus sites.
Over the years that we've been having the various lecture series, is that it has grown from strength to strength, and the people's response has really been overpowering for us. We have reached a point now where people are calling the Open Campus and even suggesting people throughout the region who have done research in particular fields that would be good for the lecture series. What we have also noticed is that a lot of Dominicans who have done research in particular fields that they've been studying, perhaps their master's thesis or their doctoral thesis and so on, have been coming to us and asking us for them to do presentations at the Open Campus in collaboration with us, and we have been allowing that as well. This is the 10th one for Dame Eugenia Charles Memorial Lecture, and that is a legacy in itself because a lot of the Open Campus sites around the Caribbean don't even have one.
The 10th annual Dame Mary Eugenia Charles Memorial Lecture Series, being held in collaboration with the Charles Foundation, will take place on Thursday evening from 7 at the Fort Young Hotel.
Sports is next with Kenny Williams.
First up in cricket, the pitch at the Windsor Park Sports Stadium is now under investigation by the West Indies Cricket Board following concerns coming out of a regional cricket tournament that ended on Saturday. Manager of Windward's Volcanoes, Gregory Shillingford, says all protocol was observed in preparation for the match.
The ground staff started preparations in the usual time, 10 days before the game. And so the pitch had 10 days of preparation to match the pitch. Once it is handed over to the umpires, it comes under the control of the umpires, and the umpires determine the fitness of the pitch for a match, whether the match must go on or if it must be called off or whatever it is. And the umpires made a determination that the match could go on. In other words, that the match was fit to go on. So that's what everybody who was present witnessed.
Meantime, acting manager of the stadium, Joseph Thomas, describes the speculation surrounding the condition of the cricket pitch as nonsense. He says the competing teams could have performed better.
This business about Windsor Park, was underprepared and whatever it is baloney. A bad workman always blames his tools. The Leeward Islands did not put on a performance which can be credited to any decent form of cricket that we know to be played in the West Indies, and as a result they lost the match well under 2 days.
Thomas says he believes that despite circumstances at any game, a player should be professional enough to adapt and perform.
You get a first day pitch, obviously with a little bit of overnight and early morning moisture, and moisture at the top. And what do you do as a cricketer, as a batsman? You go out and you fiddle your way through, you apply yourself, and you bat. The wicket isn't going to always give you what you want. How many persons with the bat pitch that I hear being routed about, how many persons went to the Princess Margaret Hospital? It's a situation where the players did not apply themselves, and as a result, they seek to blame the pitch.
This is the first time in 6 years of the stadium's operations that such a complaint has been filed, according to Thomas. Still in cricket, South Africa trails by 204 runs with 8 wickets remaining in the first innings when they faced India for their third test on Wednesday. India was the first to bat, scoring 215 runs, with no Indian batsman scoring more than Vijay's 40. Harmer took 4 for 78 and Mockrell 3 for 35 in favor of South Africa. South Africa replied with 11 runs for 2 wickets, with Elgar scoring 7 and Tahir 4 to close off day 1 of their third test. On to football. The Poirier Playing Field and Benjamin's Park will see some football action as the DFA Division 1 League continues on Thursday.
In a doubleheader at the Poirier Playing Field on Thursday, Malta India Harlem United will battle All Saints at 5 p.m, while at 7 p.m. it will be RC Doctors versus LA Stars. And at the Benjamin Park in Portsmouth, Nemesis United will come up against Itasi United at 5 p.m.
In the under-16 match, defending champions Cocoa Town Portsmouth Secondary lost to Northeast Comprehensive 19-22. Selena Langley scored 18 from 23 tries, and Danithas George 1 from 2, both from PSS. Meantime, Etheline and Kayla Telemark secured the win for NECS when they scored 12 and 10 respectively. Then in the under-20 competition, PSS came back with a vengeance to pound NECS 41-14. Shanice Henry secured 29 and Chevelle Marceline 14 for PSS. Etheline Telemark and Jazri Frederick scored 8 and 5 respectively for NECS, with the lone goal coming from Kimandra John Baptist. That's all the time we have for sports. I am Kenny Williams. Join us again next time.
Flashback is next.
Welcome to another Flashback segment where we take you back into interesting news events which occurred in Dominica in the past.
The bill to dissolve the Dominica Bananas Association became law last night as members of the House of Assembly voted to make the Dominica Banana Marketing Corporation the sole representative of the farmers. The DBGA put up resistance to the government's proposal over the past few weeks, launching consultations with civic-minded organizations and staging Wednesday's demonstration against the bill, but to no avail. Outgoing Executive Secretary Jeff Scotland is still maintaining that the dissolution of the DBGA is an act of political victimization. But he says this may not be the end of the DBGA altogether.
We're pursuing it at the moment with our legal people. Once we have all the information and we've done all what is necessary, I believe we'll go right ahead and register the company as was provided for within that resolution. So yes, we are going to pursue it with vigor. In fact, I have already started discussions, and there's one legal person who's now working on the documents.
Nonetheless, the passing of the bill leaves 2 other staff members unemployed, and Jeff Scotland vowing to make sacrifices if necessary to continue serving the farmers who believe in him. What about the other members of staff here? I mean, what are they going to do? Have you had any indication from them?
Well, they're all very disappointed. I can say from what they've said to me, they're still in a little bit of shock. But I believe, like I said to them, when one door closes, another one opens. When history will have been told, I am going to be very happy that I stood up for a just cause. I believe that the question of the government insisting that the small farmers of this country should not participate in the industry is a point which will later come back to haunt them.
According to sources, banana export has had its fair share of juggling in the hands of a few organizations up to today. I am Janik Delmar Samuel. Thanks for joining us on another Flashback segment. See you next week.
The weather report is next.
Good evening. Welcome to tonight's weather broadcast. We begin by taking a look at earlier infrared satellite imagery, which showed just a few low-level clouds moving across the islands of the Lesser Antilles today. Visible satellite imagery showed just a few showers across Dominica, mainly across the interior of the island this morning, which gave way to generally fair skies by afternoon. Radar imagery confirmed a few spotty showers across the island during the morning period. Tonight's weather is expected to be fair to partly cloudy with a few scattered showers, and for tomorrow, partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy skies with a few scattered showers. Sea conditions are expected to be moderate in open water, with waves peaking near 7 feet. For the next 3 days, expect a slight increase in cloudiness and scattered showers by Friday into early next week. For the remainder of the Caribbean, partly cloudy skies with a few scattered showers can be expected. For the international cities forecast, partly cloudy skies in New York, some rain expected in Miami, cloudy conditions in London, thunderstorm activity in Caracas, and some clear skies in Beijing with some pretty cold temperatures. The sun will rise tomorrow at 6:13 a.m. and set at 5:32 p.m. For additional information, feel free to contact us at weather.gov.dm or call the weather hotline at 447-5555. Thank you for viewing and have a good night.
That's news. The headlines again. Pork and poultry products from the National Abattoir expected to be in local supermarkets by Christmas. 2 days away from elections, and Dominica remains steadfast in support of its candidate for the Commonwealth Secretary General. And the NTRC bridging the gap between children with special needs and modern technology. Email us at news@mapping2k4.com. You can also access our past newscast on our YouTube page. On behalf of the production team, I am Lillian Graham Carter. Thank you for joining us.